Retro Warriors episode 447.
Woo!
As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by Viable Human Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hi, Saturn.
Hi, Justin.
Hello.
Did you forget how conversations work? You already said the hello.
No.
And I responded with a hello. You
I'm
don't then
doing-
respond with a second hello.
I just want you to know that I am killing it right now.
Oh, right.
So
My bad.
whatever you got going, whatever you think is wrong.
Oh, right. My bad. So sorry.
We do have some housekeeping. I'm a little flimmy, so if my voice is going out, I'm sorry. We are just now starting recording for the evening at 9 o'clock, so I'm going to be talking for the next continuous 3 hours.
17 years.
Yeah.
No, I am also recovering from illness, so I am mostly past it, but I still have a lingering cough and some phlegm, so
Yeah.
we'll just be phlegmy today.
That'd be great. We'll just power through it.
We'll just see if we can make throat clearing noises the entire time.
I always try to mute myself.
Me too.
I'm just a very sinusy person. I know you are
Yeah,
too.
me too.
I'm just a very sinusy person in general. But it's especially bad today. I just realized just in this moment I forgot to take my allergy medicine yesterday, and I wonder if there is some correlation.
That doesn't sound right.
My week.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing the Final Fantasies 6 and 14, which are very similar games. They're a lot like each
basically
other.
the same game, yeah.
I fired up Final Fantasy 6 because all the pixel remasters on Steam got the console version upgrades.
Yes. And the mobile version's got most of the console version upgrades, but not all.
I wanted to check out the classic font that they added, which is still not
garbage.
as good as...
It's such a bad font.
It's not. It's better than the original
True,
font.
but not by much.
No, it's really not. So now I need to go in and remod my copy with the good chunky font.
Do the old mods still work?
So some of my mods kept, other ones did not.
Yeah.
Because the version I had on my deck was previously modded.
Yeah, and I noticed that the Discord community where they release all those mods sent out a big all points bulletin saying, hey, your mods might not work anymore. We will try to fix them as we can, but no guarantees.
I had some color palette mods. I had some sprite mods that changed them from the kind
the
of
remaster
mobile
fonts.
the remaster sprites to the original sprites, because original Final Fantasy 3 on Super Nintendo is a lot kind of darker looking.
True.
Than a lot of I think they use it almost looks like they use the GBA palette.
They did. All of the pixel remasters are built off of the GBA games.
Yeah, and it's just neon.
Yeah.
Because they were supposed to play on GBA, which was the opposite of neon.
Right.
And so played a little bit of that, and where am I? I'm just past the part where you run into the Espers, and then you go back to talk to General Leo, and then what's his face shows up and starts capturing them. That's where I am.
You're almost at the halfway point there.
Yeah, I'm a little. I don't. Apparently, I played 17 hours of it. I don't know when. I was like, I'll boot this up, and I was like, oh, I have a save. And then I'm halfway through the game.
I remember you mentioning what all mods you had back when the last time you played it, but I don't remember when that was.
And so I played a little bit of that. It's still good. It kept some of my mods, did not keep others. I checked out the boost mode that they added, so that you can double or quadruple the XP and gil from stuff. And so I put the XP one up on double, and I feel like that's a pretty good pace.
Yeah, I used a lot of that when I was playing through them on PS4.
Yeah.
Also, the ability to turn off encounters was really nice.
Yeah, I keep almost doing that one, but I try to, as much as I'm in favor of cheating, for games that have random encounters, I try to keep them on because in my head, I tell myself that the designers designed a certain amount of random encounters, and that's supposed to be part of the experience,
While that's true, the versions that were released as pixel remasters are so modified from the original form that I don't know if the encounter rates are anywhere close to what they were originally.
I will say the encounter rates feel weirdly inconsistent. I mean, granted, since the update, I've only played 6.
Yeah.
It'll be 5 in a row and then nothing for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's been so long since I played the actual Super Nintendo version of the game it's hard for me to say.
I'm sure also whatever code they're using for the RNG for the encounters has got to be different just because it's drastically different hardware that it's running on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you would assume they kept the same chances on things, but also Square Enix.
Yes.
So who fucking knows?
Right.
Also, still pegging away at Final Fantasy 14. I'm level
Nice.
57 right now.
Nice.
Level 57 White Mage. Trucking through the Realm Reborn story. I'm at the point where I just started going to visit the Empire and beat up guys there and save some people and then run away real fast.
Yeah, I don't think you're actually in the Empire. I think you're just on Imperial bases.
Yeah. So I think I'm kind of in the tail end of the Realm Reborn storyline.
If you hit 60 before you finish the Realm Reborn storyline, let me know and I'll make you some level 60 gear.
Okay.
Because otherwise you'll be able to get the level 50 Tombstone gear, which is better than what I made you and will last you until you hit 60. But if you haven't even made it to be able to get that yet, I might as well just make you some gear.
I think I will, because every time I logged on today and me and Andrew did a dungeon, the daily duty dungeon, which gives like bonus XP. And then I just did story quests for, I don't know, played for maybe an hour and gained 2 levels.
Which dungeon did you guys get for your daily?
Oh, we just did the roulette because that's what gives you the bonus. And we got the Ifrit fight.
Oh, nice. Oh, I love when it throws one of those at you.
And we had to stand there while someone watched the entire very long cutscene.
Yeah, that is a long one.
Several minutes long.
So you haven't gotten there just yet, but when you get to the first level 50 story quests, the ones that kind of wrapped up A Realm Reborn before all of its patches, its post-release patches, there's 3 back-to-back dungeons. There used to be 4 or 5 that they've since condensed into 3 that are fairly straightforward dungeons with fairly straightforward bosses, but they all have relatively long cutscenes and they are unskippable now because they were sick of experienced players skipping through them and leaving new players behind. Yeah. So now they are simply unskippable, but they are in their own separate roulette that gives way more rewards because of all the unskippable cutscenes.
I kind of don't mind it because I like the cutscenes because they're pretty cool. And a lot of times they'll kind of give you an indication of what you can expect in the dungeon.
True.
But I always feel bad watching them because I know everybody else is just standing around waiting on me. Like I feel like I'm the asshole.
So those 3 especially, because you have to watch the cutscenes every time, you can't just skip them. I have learned almost all of the dialogue in all of them. So I always open up the chat window and like respond to the characters right before they say things.
Yeah.
And sometimes newer players will think that's funny, and older players will be like, "Shut up, man." Just shut up.
I do think it's kind of a bad MMO.
It kind of. But it's a really fun single player game.
The game's okay, but I'm only playing it with Andrew now, right? Because I'm mostly playing EverQuest. That has become my main MMO. I'm greatly enjoying it. I'm in a guild. I've hit level 25 and a half. I've got like a friends list. I've got regular people I play with. It's like I log on and I get PMs of like, hey, do you want to come heal us and such and such? And like there's a community, right?
Right.
Because in that game there has to be, because it's impossible, that one. And everyone has been, I've never encountered like an MMO community where people are so nice and warm and welcoming. Like, hey, please come play with us. Please, we're dying. Help us. Granted, I am playing a cleric. So, take that for what it's worth. Yeah. Like me and Andrew will be, like, he'll text me and say, hey, you want to play 14? I'll go, sure. And so I'll hop on and I add him to my party and he'll come to where I am and we just kind of run around and do stuff. But you can't do quests together. You can do fates together.
True.
But usually you're the only 2 people in the fates. And some fates are really hard, even with 2.
Yeah.
Is what I've learned. And then as soon as you go to do a story mission, it's like, hey, you got to get out of your party and play it by yourself. And I'm like, this is a fucking MMO. Why do I have to do that?
The fates difficulty is variable. And I don't know if you have figured out how it determines the difficulty or not.
I've not, because some of them I'm like, these are pretty easy. Other ones I'm like, this is really hard.
So the difficulty of the fate, from what I have read anyway, is based on how many people were involved with completing it the last time it popped.
Oh, how weird. What a weird way to do that.
So if very few people completed it, it will be very easy the next time. And if a shitload of people were there and completed it last time, it's going to be impossible the next time.
Well, that's stupid and
Yeah.
opaque. I don't like that. Like, I was playing it with Andrew the other day, and he was sitting there, and he goes, "I can't tell if this game sucks." And I was like, "Yeah, the good parts are really fun, but the bad parts are really bad." And so I don't know, man. I don't know if it does.
If ever you guys want to play on the weekend, I'll be happy to play with you. But during the week, I
Sure.
just don't have any time.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think it's because I'm coming from EverQuest, where like you turn on EverQuest and it's like, go find someone to be in a party with and do everything with them, or you're gonna get just fucked.
Yeah.
And then you get on 14, it's like, hey, we mostly don't want you to play with anybody, but we'll occasionally let you go to these special playgrounds with other people and do your special playground time, and then you better fucking get out of that party.
So
I don't
they
love
heard
that.
they did hear that complaint, and they started adding things that were more multiplayer.
Yeah. which is
Unfortunately,
good.
they didn't
It's-
start adding them until the content expansions of the second expansion. So
Like, yeah.
you'll get there before you run out of the base game trial now,
Yeah.
but only at the very end.
Yeah. So it's as far as like what I want out of an MMO experience,
An M&M
an MMO, it's missing a lot, but I think it skates by because of how fast and convenient everything is.
Yeah.
Except the quests. I don't know who the fuck designed these quests, but they're an asshole and they are bad at making video games.
Yeah.
Because whenever my quest involves me walking to someone 4 feet away and handing them a fucking letter from you, and then they give me a letter to give the fuck back to you when you could both just talk audibly to each other,
Yeah.
then what you're doing is wasting my time. That is what you're doing now, game.
Yeah.
And you do that all of the time.
Yeah, what's frustrating to me is when you have one where the person who gives you a quest starts a little cutscene where it's you and him and one other person standing there talking to each other, and then you finish that cutscene and your first objective is talk to that second person that you were just talking to in the previous
Yes.
cutscene.
Yes.
And so you pivot slightly to the left and engage in conversation with them, and then that first person is still also talking.
Now, thankfully, the little dopamine machine is still going because it
Yeah.
gives you XP after each of those,
True.
and you're like, that feels good. but just like as a game,
Yeah.
a lot of, and granted, I'm still in Realm Reborn. I'm still in the base game.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just really badly designed,
Yeah.
and I
Which
know that they have fixed a lot of it.
Yeah, they've changed so much of A Realm Reborn, too, because they kept wanting to make it easier, to make it faster for people to get to the other stuff. So a lot of the challenge and the difficulty was completely removed from A Realm Reborn.
I'm starting to get to the point where healing in higher level dungeons is legitimately difficult.
Yeah.
It's becoming like, it's hard.
Yeah, Ormvale and Stone Vigil are usually the first two dungeons where that really starts to hit.
Yeah. I was doing Stone Vigil the other night. I unlocked it. That's the one in Dragonhead, right?
Yeah.
And I was healing that, and me and Andrew were in voice chat talking, and finally I was like, you gotta stop talking to me. It was like, Andrew plays a Dragoon. He's like,
Yeah.
why? I just press the attack button, and I'm like, because there's so many fucking icons I gotta look at
Yeah.
at all times, and
that's-
the tank is sprinting.
Yeah, Stone Vigil is often seen as like the great equalizer for new players, especially for new tanks and healers, because it's a lot harder than everything before it.
Yeah, so mostly still playing MMOs, just kind of doing that thing. What have you been playing, Saturn?
I was mostly sick for the last
Oh,
couple of weeks, especially last week. Holy crap, I was
you were
out of
very
it.
sick.
But I did start playing with some stuff. I started playing with Yuzu, the Switch emulator, because I wanted to see how that would work on my desktop. Because I figure if people can,
all right.
if people can run it on their Steam Deck, surely I can run it on my desktop, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I downloaded it, played with a couple games, and was like, that works pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and get backups of all of my Switch games so that I can play them on my PC instead of on my Switch. And that was harder than I thought it would be because this is piracy of current consoles, essentially. Even though these are all
Right.
games that I own,
It's extra illegal.
it's difficult. So I grabbed a handful and then realized I had already downloaded 300 gigabytes in just that small handful.
Uh-huh.
And then I open up Yuzu again and realize that most of them have the little red dot saying not playable.
You didn't check the compatibility list?
No, I did not.
Why
I
would
did
you not
do
do that?
Look,
We just did a whole episode about how Switch emulation is still kind of jank.
yeah, it's so
You should
then
listen to it. There's some great information in there about what to expect
I
from
don't know,
Switch emulation.
that guy Justin keeps talking. I can't handle it. So at that point, I don't know why I didn't even think of that. But while I was reading like how to set up Yuzu, it was like, well, grab your keys file from your Switch. And I was like, oh, how do I do that? Oh, you have to have your Switch hacked. Oh, well, that's probably a pain. And on that page before I clicked off of it, it said easiest way, get this $10 tool. And I was like, oh, well, $10.
Yeah.
I could do that. So I got the tool and then I hacked my Switch. And then I started ripping my actual cartridges to my Switch, which is much more compatible than Yuzu, for the record.
Really? Okay.
The Switch can play more Switch games than Yuzu can.
I can't say I'm too shocked by that, but still, that's nice.
But no, the process was super fast and easy. I'm told that if you don't have a launch model, it is not quite so fast and easy. But because I do have a launch model, it went very smoothly. I now have a separate partition on my SD card that is the hacked OS, or I can still boot to my main console and it runs normally.
Yeah.
And the hacked version I have set up on a DNS server so that it can't communicate with any of Nintendo's servers, so that it doesn't say anything. But then as soon as I had it hacked, I'm like, well, what am I going to do with this aside from just dump my games to it? I don't play it that often.
Yeah, you don't use your Switch.
What am I doing? And so I was like, well, I've heard you can move save files back and forth between certain games that are on Switch and Steam. And I'm an idiot. I double dip all the time.
Right.
Let's see if I can move some save files. So I corrupted some of my Steam save files. And I think what I've learned in this process is Switch emulation and hacking is still a work in progress, but it is impressive. They've done some good things.
Right. My assessment is if there is maybe one or two Switch games you really want, then maybe those will be compatible, and if they are, it's great.
Right.
That's just kind of where it is right now.
And I may not be competent enough for it just yet. So I might just let it continue to bloom for a while. And I remember the early days of emulation when we were playing with NES ROMs and Super NES ROMs and stuff. And some of them didn't work and some of them did work. But it felt like the ones that didn't work, you could still at least do dumb, stupid shit with.
Yeah.
But I guess those were like 2 meg files and not 7 gig files.
Yeah. This is a little less complex.
Yeah. Also, I was playing on my Analog Duo because our Game Club game for last month, one of them was New Zealand Story, and I have the TurboGrafx version of it, so I thought I would play it on my Analog Duo. And while I was at it, I thought I would check to see if the firmware had been updated yet so that it would support save states. Spoiler, no, it has not.
No.
But
it's okay. People don't use save states a lot in emulated devices,
certainly
right?
Not.
Saturn? That's not a thing.
That never happens.
Especially
but
not very expensive ones.
While I was looking for that, and I was playing some other stuff on there too, because I was playing Ys 4 on there, and I noticed that there was a slight pause after some of the dialogue that I don't remember hearing in the game, and I thought maybe I'm just crazy, so I pulled it up on an emulator and it didn't have that pause, and I'm like, what? That is weird. And then I pulled it up on my TurboGrafx. I grabbed the same disc out of my Duo and put it in my TurboGrafx and played it, and there wasn't that pause, and I'm like, what is it doing wrong? And I tried searching for it and I couldn't find any results, and then I took away Duo from my search and just had pause after this cutscene, and I did find some results from 20 years ago where a forum user was talking about this exact same problem on this exact same game, and they were saying that the issue was the emulator at the time, Magic Engine, was basically the only emulator.
It was, yeah.
And at the time, Magic Engine didn't properly emulate the CD-ROM speed. And so it fed CD-ROM data to the emulator at whatever speed your CD-ROM drive ran. And that would cause little hiccups and inconsistencies sometimes. And my first thought was, surely Analog knows this, and they have programmed the CD-ROM to run at 1x because that's what a TurboGrafx runs at. So I searched again for Analog Duo CD-ROM drive speed, and I found a lot more forum posts that were like, why is this running at the wrong CD-ROM drive speed?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's distressing for a premier boutique FPGA console.
Right.
And I found these same forums. One of the guys was like, if you think the CD-ROM drive speed is bad, it's scratching my Hue cards.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, well, that's bizarre. And I go and look at my copy of New Zealand Story that I had in there, and sure enough, there's scuffs all along the connectors of it.
Uh-huh.
Because the Hue card slot is too tight. It is actually like gripping the Hue card.
Now you're telling me that the company that released multiple models of Analog NT that were known for destroying pins on NES cartridges from gripping them too tight has now, many years later, done it yet again?
It seems to be the case,
and
yes.
This is the premier boutique FPGA hardware emulation company? Again, this is the... Well, surely this is like their first device they ever made. How many other devices have they made, Saturn? Is it
I'm pretty
lot?
sure this has to be their first one based on the quality.
Must be, for it to be literally damaging your physical games.
And it's distressing, and I'm a bit concerned and upset about it. And more importantly, I'm shocked that this company still has a good reputation.
Not only a good one, an immaculate reputation.
Because I even as I'm digging through these forums of people saying these are the literal physical faults with the Duo and this is what it is doing, the very next post is always, look how amazing the Pocket is.
True.
And
I know that we've been down on Analog before, but it's only because they've made shoddy, overpriced products with fake limited scarcity, overpriced colorways, and have maintained bad communication for years at a time and done scummy things on the back end to emulation developers. That's the only reason.
If they would come out and say, look, we're just trying to make this the best we can and we are wanting to support it for you, that'd be okay. I think I'd forgive a lot of things if that were the case. Yeah. But instead, they come out and say, we have made the perfect product.
Yes. And then there's no communication. Like just a post like, hey, we fucked up. The thing is too tight. We aren't sure what to do. We can't afford to just replace all of them.
Right.
We're going to try to engineer some kind of fix.
Yeah.
Like
don't worry. Somebody has already engineered the fix. Some guy on Etsy has 3D printed a Hue card reader that is basically an extension that you plug into your...
It gets damaged, and then you plug the cartridge into, or the Hue card into the thing. Okay.
And it is not too tight.
Why don't they fucking make some of those and send them out?
That would destroy the airbrushed aluminum appearance, sir.
Oh, right. The unibody.
Think about the
aluminum.
aesthetic.
Fuck off, Analog. God damn it. What's frustrating is you have some expensive-ass Hue card games. Now, granted, I know you bought them all when they were like pennies on the dollar because you had a turbo for forever.
Right.
But some of your turbo games are pretty high dollar things.
It's a TurboGrafx. All of them are high dollar these days.
Yeah, but yeah. And so that's extra upsetting that your high dollar games are now getting damaged.
Yeah. So at this point, I'm not putting any more Hue cards in it.
Yeah, which defeats
eliminates
the
its purpose.
I would return the damn thing at this point. I'm damaged.
I'm thinking at this point I may either return it or flip it, just because fuck it.
Yeah. Let's do the news.
Okay.
First up, the final DLC songs for Rock Band 4 were released on January 25th, marking the end of over 16 years of consistent Rock Band DLC packages. I'll say this, I'm shocked that they were still doing it.
Yeah, the team at Harmonix has had true dedication to Rock Band this entire time. I give them huge props. I don't know how many of them are left. I wouldn't be surprised if Epic has just laid off a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But the people that were left seem to still be dedicated to it. I give them a lot of props. I am sad that now there are basically no Harmonix games left because Epic is turning them into, I don't know, a VR company or something.
Who fucking knows?
Yeah.
Who fucking knows? But good on them for keeping it up for that long. That's dedication.
Yeah.
The Pseudo Saturn Kai has received a major update that includes new cheat codes, widescreen support for select games, better integration with the Finrare and Rhea/Phoebe ODEs, as well as the Satiator. I have lost track of what all these different projects are. Pseudo Saturn is the software that you flash onto a memory card.
Correct. Yes.
And then the Rhea
Rhea, Phoebe, and Fenrir are all optical drive emulators.
Yes,
and the Satiator is the one that plugs into the MPEG card slot.
Yes, the one that was real expensive, but you didn't have to mod anything.
Right. Now, I noticed they do not mention the mode at all on that list, and that's the ODE that I have in my Saturn. So now I'm sad.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the mode.
Because the one ODE that I have, they don't support.
Yeah.
But the mode does have built-in cheat support, so I'm not that hurt.
Something. The ReShop, a homebrew version of the Wii Shop, has entered public beta. I used this a little while back, and it's cool.
Nice.
It's a cool thing.
Does it play the music?
I don't remember.
It better.
It is.
They fucking
it
better.
Or else.
That's right.
I would assume not, because that would be some weird thing for them to get a C&D letter for, but
That's
I
true.
feel like they would get a C&D letter for literally all of it,
Yeah,
so it's
right.
I have no idea. Capcom continues to add Enigma Hunter DRM to their games, breaks Monster Hunter Rise on Steam Deck, although I think it's since been fixed.
Has it? I know they said they were looking into it.
They're looking into fixing the thing they broke on purpose, yeah.
Yeah.
I would hope they're fucking looking into it,
Yeah.
because I bought Rise just to play on Steam Deck.
And they did specifically say that removing the DRM was not a solution that they were willing to entertain.
That's nice, you fucking assholes.
I do see that their recent reviews for Monster Hunter Rise are mostly negative on Steam.
Good. They should be. It's what they deserve. I
Yeah.
love that game. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Square Enix and Applebot are shutting down Nier Reincarnation on April 29th, 2024. Isn't this the mobile game that just came out?
Just came out in 2022. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's not long ago.
Yeah. It ran 2.5 years. It has finished 3 major story arcs. Actually, the third one finishes, I think, next month.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a good story. It's got some good music, but it's got...
no one will know because it's going to be gone.
Yeah, it'll be gone soon. Fortunately, people have recorded it and uploaded it to YouTube.
Good, you can watch the phone game.
Which is, I would say that's better than playing it, because if you play it, you have to deal with the gacha mechanics.
This is
Because
true.
it has at least 6 currencies, including one currency that changes every month. And if you still have some of last month's currency, you get
Doesn't work.
converted into legacy currency, which can only buy shitty old legacy items.
I don't understand how a game about existential dread could create. It's so off-brand for Nier.
Here's the best part. Reincarnation is probably the bleakest, saddest game in the series. And somehow it still feels thematically on track the entire time.
That it's just completely
even when
dystopian.
Yeah, like you finish like this incredibly depressing, sad story, and then as soon as you get back to the main menu, you like tap the other menu button, and it's like, you just earned 81 mama bucks. And I'm like, oh, thanks, mama. I appreciate it.
Follow-up story, Tencent and Square Enix were working on a new Nier game, but have canceled it.
That one was also supposed to be mobile. So
Well,
I guess
fucking
nothing
cares?
of value was lost.
End of service for 3DS and Wii U online play is confirmed for April 8th, so, get your gameplay in now,
Yep.
because it's going.
Better download your favorite Mario Maker levels now, because
Oh, God, I
otherwise
didn't even
you
think
cannot.
about that. Fuck.
Yep.
More than 6,100 layoffs were announced in the game industry in just the month of January,
Yep.
including cuts at Microsoft / Activision Blizzard King, Sega, Embracer, and more. Nearly 2,000 just at Activision Blizzard King, and Embracer has canceled a new Deus Ex game at the same time.
Yeah. Now, we knew that there were going to be job cuts at Activision because of the merger, because there's always going to be
yeah.
redundant things when two big companies merge.
Sure. Yeah.
But a lot of the cuts were not redundancies. Like Toys for Bob, the guys that did the most recent Crash game,
Yeah.
apparently lost like 1/3 of their staff.
Oh, Oh no.
Of course, they've been in the Call of Duty mines for a few years now anyway, so
Yeah.
maybe they wanted to get out.
It's just fucking depressing.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's not just the game industry. It is industries all over the world have been massively laying people off for a few years now, and it's
The weird part is
disgusting.
that the game industry seems to be posting record-breaking profits. Now, other industries are doing the same, but I'm
Exactly.
willing to admit that there are probably some industries that are actually losing money and needing to tighten belts. Inevitably, those exist somewhere. But the
Somewhere.
AAA game industry doesn't seem like one of them that needs
Now-
these necessary cuts to survive right now. They seem to be posting fantastic profits.
Embracer does need some cuts to survive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they
if
done
they
fucked up
survive.
a lot.
Now, the rumor that I read online this last week that I don't know if it's true or not, because the story that Embracer has said is the reason they're making all these cuts because they had some big deal that fell through, right?
Yeah.
And the rumor that I was reading online was that big deal was that some wealthy investor, presumably from a Saudi oil family, was supposed to invest several $1 billion to purchase most of Embracer.
Yeah.
But their end of the deal was they're supposed to gobble up all these IPs to be more attractive to that investor. And then the investor said, no, I don't want it anyway. And they had no backup plan. So they had no way to pay all these people they just bought. So now they're fucked.
I don't know which of those realities I want to happen more.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to see Embracer and their IPs get bought up by a Saudi oil family
Right.
and still get to exist, or do I want
Yeah.
to see them crash and burn? I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's and either way, you'd probably see a bunch of layoffs. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And finally, Game Arts and Somoga have ported the iOS port of the PS1 port of Lunar Silver Star Story to Android.
This is probably the best port of the game, too, by the way.
Oh, really?
So if you are looking to play the game, at least the iOS port is probably the best port of the game. And the iOS port was relatively recently updated to support Apple TV as well.
Oh, that's cool.
The Android port does not yet support Android TV, but it does support everything else that the iOS port supports. And it is an excellent port. It has very good touch controls. You will not ever see an on-screen D-pad, which I am a huge fan of in mobile
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
So it's a good port.
Well, that's good. Finally, some good news
Oh,
right here
also,
at the very end.
It has in its options menu, you can select either the original difficulty from the Sega Saturn game in Japan or the tweaked, whacked out difficulty that Working Designs implemented in the PS1 game in the US.
That's
So
cool.
if you hate yourself, you can set it on PS1 difficulty. And if you want a good game, you can set it on Saturn difficulty. And also, you can change all the menu and font graphics so that instead of looking like a modern mobile game, it looks like the Sega CD game, and that's
Oh, thank
adorable to
goodness.
me.
Thank goodness. Which brings us to our topic at hand, which is exiting the demographic. Much like many people are exiting the games industry,
Willingly or not.
Saturn has Simpsons quotes in here. I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't. No, what is it? Now what I'm with isn't it anymore, and what's it seems weird and scary. Abe Simpson. This is kind of a weird topic.
Yeah.
It's one that we both talk about a lot, I think, in the
Mhm.
Discord. And it's something that comes up a lot, and it's basically the idea that, you know, we're getting older.
Yeah.
It's shocking, I know. You are just going by numbers, and we'll talk about what the specific numbers are in a minute. But just going by numbers, just a few years out of the demographic, and I'm just now exiting the demographic,
Mm.
and you feel it. You know, I know that human beings, as we get older, we have a tendency to want to just say that things used to be better. We want to just say that the way it was when we were younger was better. That's a natural tendency that we have observed in human beings.
Yes.
But at some point, we just need to recognize that industries are shifting to focus on not us and not what we want. And what does that look like in terms of gaming? How does that relate to retro gaming and retro game collecting and emulation and enjoying classic titles?
Yeah.
And what does that feel like? And I think what gets me the most is this sadness. It's and I don't want this to be a downer topic. I do want it to be positive. So I
Let's
think
talk the sadness.
it is the sadness that has made me want to do this topic.
Yeah.
Which is to say that it makes me kind of sad to look at this industry that I used to be so excited about.
Yeah.
And just not be excited by anything. And then when I am excited by something, they do something with it to make me not excited. Like the newest Like a Dragon game just came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited for it, but the pricing structure on it and the different editions of the game and the shit they lock out between those different editions is really upsetting to me.
But have you heard that it has a full-featured Animal Crossing minigame in it?
Saturn, you're not helping.
Oh, it also has a Pokemon minigame in it.
You're not helping at all. And so it's this thing where even the things that I like are presented in ways that are upsetting to me. And how am I reconciling that? What do I do moving forward? Because I think it's why a lot of people just go, I guess I'm done with gaming. It's not for me.
Right.
And I think the way I want this to be a positive topic is by saying, actually, gaming is so much bigger and more vast than just
what is marketed.
The market forces at play. Right. So I think the first thing we need to talk about is kind of when we felt ourselves kind of hitting that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was probably the PS4 era for me, because PS3 was peak gaming for me.
Mm.
PS3 360, I was right in that pocket where I was just old enough to actually be able to afford video games and young enough to have the time to play them. Xbox 360 came out when I was like a junior in high school. So I was exiting high school. I had already been working full time for a while by the time I was getting out. I wasn't quite in college. And when I did, I started community college, which is pretty low pressure. And I just had a lot of time. It's also probably the time where I played the most D&D in my life. And I had a car. I had disposable income. I had very few financial responsibilities because I lived at home. And so I was able to really put in a lot of gaming time. So just time spent sitting in front of video games, that might have been the peak for me.
Yeah, I
go ahead.
So since I was very young, people have told me the generous way they've put it is, "Oh, you're like an old soul."
Oh, that's always the nice way to be like, "You're fucking weird."
Yeah. So even as a little kid, like I spent all my time watching like 50s and 60s sitcoms.
Yeah.
And reading books and not hanging out with other kids. So I was the weirdo, and so I really enjoyed games in the 8-bit and 16-bit eras, and even in the late 90s, I was already starting to feel that some of the popular things weren't particularly important to me, but I still had plenty of important things that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
And it was probably around 2002, 2003 when I first started to feel that like all the biggest games this year, none of them appeal to me.
Yeah.
And that felt pretty young because I was in my early 20s at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I hit 25 in 2007, then it had definitely happened. Like almost every AAA game on PS3, 360 did not appeal to me even a little. Like looking at the entire landscape of the PS3 and the 360, I was struggling to find anything I cared about, to the point to where I almost stopped playing games outright during that point.
Yeah.
And just pivoted to my old stuff. I just kept playing the stuff that I already had, and whatever was coming out on DS. That was my last salvation, was the DS, because it had weird games on it.
Yeah.
And then I kind of boomeranged back in once the PS4, a couple of years into the PS4 generation. I started to feel like things were finally starting to target me again, and I don't know if it's because there's like the second wave of marketing that appeals to old people, or if the genres that I like have somehow become popular with young people again, which doesn't seem likely.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but now these last few years I'm starting to enjoy a lot of bigger games again, which feels weird.
I think if I were to put a time on it, I was starting to feel that, like, I think this is not for me anymore, probably around like 2012-ish.
Around the time the Wii U launched.
Yeah, about Wii U launch.
Just before PS3 or PS4.
Yeah, PS4 and 360 were still on the market.
PS4 was 2013.
No, I'm in PS3. PS3
Oh, yeah.
and 360 were still on the market. I'd greatly enjoyed those generations. The new generation was starting to kick off.
Yeah.
I was working in games journalism at the time, and I was still in college, and I was just starting to feel like, man, I don't know, I'm just not sure. And so that would put me about 9 years behind you. Granted,
yeah.
I'm also several years younger.
True.
So just timeline in my life wise probably started around a similar-ish era, give or take 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to really feel it. Where now even stuff I am excited about, I'm like, I'm not gonna fucking give that money. Look at that fucking bullshit, Sega.
Yeah,
What the fuck are you doing?
It doesn't help that there's the added layer now in the current era of us knowing more about the industry than we used to.
True. And I think also a lot of the very toxic practices that started in the 360 and PS3 era have become standard operating procedure in the next generations.
I would say they started earlier than that, because I remember reading that article back in 2002-03 about the EA staff that had worked on that second Harry Potter game, and how they were working like 16-hour days and being forced to sleep at their desk. And
I think I was more specifically talking about like microtransactions, DLCs, premium currencies.
Stuff.
Like
True.
They existed on 360 and PS3. They weren't quite expected in every single title yet.
I do remember how much we mocked horse armor though, because that was the dumbest shit.
Oh yeah, fucking made fun of it to pieces. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly Xbox One and PS4 roll around, and it's like, no, every game is that now. And it was like, well, wait a minute, this is the thing we fucking made fun of.
Right. And everybody was suddenly okay with it for some reason.
Now every game has 3 different versions and premium currencies, and like, all of them? Yeah, no, all of them. Also, they cost more now.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Let's back up.
Okay.
When we say demographic, what we're talking about, to clear everything out here, what is considered the key demographic for video games is the 18 to 34-year-old male demographic, specifically. The second largest demographic is considered the under 18 age
of males.
And so when we say the demographic, we mean that most big budget corporate funded video game projects hitting the market are shooting for this 18 to 34-year-old male range. These are the people they want.
And sometimes they'll skew a little under that to the like 15 to 34-year-old range, because if they can dodge an M rating in the US, then suddenly they can open it up to both the 18 to 34-year-old group and the under 18-year-old group and grab them both at once.
Yeah. And so really anything coming out that is wanting, when you hear about companies that are like, well, Resident Evil 6 only sold, whatever, like 40 billion copies or whatever, and you're like, that's ridiculous. These huge projects that they have massive sales expectations for, they more specifically focus down this demographic.
Right.
Because they want to get as much appeal within this demographic as they possibly can to increase sales.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's always projects here and there that like are on the fringes of this, but kind of the main broad, like the new Call of Duty game is coming out. What are they targeting? 18 to 34-year-old males. That's what they want.
Yeah. And same with most of the big sports games. Same with a lot of the even the big story-driven Sony games tend to target that market first.
Yeah. And Saturn, you helpfully not only wrote all the notes, but broke them down into very nice categories. And the first thing is that you have here is how to know you've fallen out of the key demo or started to, because while people target the 18 to 34-year-old male range, you might be feel like you're really in that demo and really marketed toward, and everything's really exciting to you, even though you are not a male or in the 18 to 34-year-old range. And vice versa, you may feel like you are dead in that range, but things aren't exciting to you. So just because this is what they're targeting doesn't mean it's going to apply to you, right? That's just how marketing works, So I think, and this is where it got difficult for me and where it got frustrating for me, is because when you start to feel that like, hey, I just feel like this isn't for me anymore.
Right.
This hobby I enjoy so much, and this thing has been such a big, important part of my life, just isn't for me anymore. The first thing you think is like, maybe I grew out of it. Maybe it never was that good. Like what, and so I think it's important that you put this category in here of like what that's going to look like and feel like and what to expect from that. Because for me, it was a lot of frustration, a lot of feeling like I was passing, like my PS4, I was passing on so many releases that long before the system was irrelevant, I just boxed it up because I was like, I'm just not using it. Like,
right.
It doesn't get touched, so why do I have it? So what are some kind of key things to look out for that are maybe indicators that you're starting to exit the key demographic?
And this isn't all inclusive. This is just some key points that you might notice. You might find that your favorite genres are becoming niche genres.
Mm-hmm.
Or the genres that you didn't enjoy have become dominant or prominent within the industry. Like for example, for me, I was a big fan of JRPGs, and then suddenly when the PS3 came out, they didn't exist anymore. They're gone. Nobody cared. And similarly today, people who might really enjoy like your Halo or your Unreal Tournament style shooters are completely irrelevant because they've been supplanted by your Calls of Duty and more recently your games like Fortnite.
Your
battle royales.
your Overwatches, your hero shooters.
Hero shooters have become a huge thing too.
Yeah, I feel like hero shooters are probably the most analogous to that UTO4 kind of thing.
Right.
And there's a new one every month. And I love UTO4. I don't give any kind of a shit about any of these hero shooters or survival shooters. I don't even know the fucking genres anymore.
And
FPS
even if
has turned into 50 genres.
And a lot of these are also games as a service. So even if you do find one that you like, if it isn't successful enough, it may not survive more than 6 months, which is a pain. Also, games that you are really excited about, in the off chance something is announced that like is exactly what you want, is squarely aimed at you, seems to have no marketing, and is released completely without fanfare because they don't
meet sales expectations,
or they never even set sales expectations for it. That's pretty common for the games that I like. They don't even bother to set sales expectations. They're just releasing it as a supplemental source of income while they work on Marvel's Avengers. Also, you may physically struggle with playing the newest or most popular games, either because it's just not a genre you're good at, or because your life has evolved to the point where you can't invest 1,000 hours a day in keeping up with your team's squad or whatever.
Right. The game as a service.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we get in these ranges where it's like everyone we know is playing these games as a service. They may not appeal to you, and you start to feel like, well, clearly I'm the problem. Everyone fucking loves this shit, and I'm the one over here throwing up in my mouth when it wants me to buy another battle pass. Like,
and also maybe just your life has evolved to the point where you can't play that kind of game anymore, because so many of these like peak popularity games, because they're aimed at these younger guys, they're aimed at people who they don't expect to have children yet.
Yeah.
So if you've got a child, you probably don't have all the time in the world to invest into this looter shooter, and the only way you're going to catch up to the kids is if you start buying all of those microtransactions, which is shitty that they would kneecap people with less free time, but also you've started to notice how the heroes in games are always teenagers for some reason, despite your personal knowledge that teenagers barely know how to put on their own pants without shitting themselves.
Yeah, no shame to any teenagers out there, but I don't feel like a lot of you are going to be like doing a lot of this shit.
I'll be honest, when I was 18, I thought maybe I was main character material. But now that I'm in my 40s, I realize that 18-year-old Saturn was a dumb piece of shit.
I was not fit to do fucking anything when I was 18.
Right.
I was useless.
Yeah. Like, I thought that I was on top of the world. I didn't know shit about shit.
I think there's also my favorite one you put in here that you phrased it differently, but basically just feeling fed up with the games, journalism, news, hype cycle.
Yes.
And I will say it is much faster than it used to be.
True.
And much more exhausting than it used to be. Once a month you would get a magazine with some shit in it. And now we all just have fucking Twitter feeds, I guess. I don't know how people get their gaming news. I just wait for people to post it in the Discord. So I'm in a unique position where people bring it to me. But it just being fed up with kind of the game's media space, I think.
And also just the hype cycles around each
Yeah.
new thing just becomes exhausting. And maybe it's because I am not personally hyped about these things that it is exhausting. But I'm not hyped about these things, and it absolutely is exhausting.
Well, that's the sadness. We got the sadness out of the way. Let's talk about what to do with this information that maybe you're exiting the demographic. I think being a retro gaming show, the obvious answer is play older stuff.
The obvious answer is to take the money you were spending and invest it in your 401k. Because
Shut up,
retirement is
Saturn.
right around
So
the corner.
go buy Super Nintendo cartridges and play them on your PVM.
Yeah.
I obviously that's the big answer, right? Is all this old stuff is still there, and this is the wonderful thing about gaming is that and why a lot of us are so disenfranchised with the current market is that a lot of this old stuff is still there.
Yes.
You can't shut down a PlayStation 1 game. The copies of it are out there. People have ripped the disc. It exists on the internet. And
it makes me feel sad for the kids that are growing up now because the games that their fallback games are going to have been discontinued. And in some cases, when they're streaming only or mobile only, they're just not going to exist.
Yeah.
And that's really depressing. But I did point out when I was writing the notes that us falling back on NES and Super NES or PlayStation games or whatever generation you personally fall back on, it's no different than how our grandparents would only listen to Bing Crosby or Frank Sinatra or how our parents would listen to Elvis or the Beatles or whatever was part of their childhood.
My grandparents listened to Conway Twitty.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyone who's not heard Conway Twitty, let me fucking tell you, man, I don't know who wasn't going to tell him that he whistled when he sang.
Well,
was it a feature? Was it on purpose?
For people younger than us, they know Conway Twitty from Family Guy.
Oh, yeah, I guess they would. I forget there was that Conway Twitty bit. I remember I watched that and I was like,
doing on many
Conway
episodes.
fucking Twitty?
Yeah.
Why? Yeah, no, my grandparents fucking loved that guy. They loved him.
There's a guy that works at my office on my IT team who is the same position, equal position to me, who was telling me about how he found his father's Linkin Park CDs from when his father was in high school.
Let me say this. Until really kind of, the millennial generation, the kids that, because most of our generation, for a good portion of our lives, have been online and have been on computers.
Yeah.
Before that, it wasn't weird to enjoy a movie or a game or a book or a TV show from 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago.
I mean, even when you and I were growing up, there were far less cable channels, and several of the cable channels were dedicated to old television because it was cheap and they didn't have to produce it. And now, with our streaming services, we have access to a lot of that old television, but we also have access to a million new shows made every fucking day.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for people to look back unless they are particularly interested in the past, because there's so much new content. I always hear that stat about YouTube, like there's 170 million hours of content uploaded to YouTube every day or whatever. It's obscene how much new content is being generated every single day right now. Yeah. So there's just less time to look back at the past than there was when even you and I were growing up, which wasn't that long ago.
I think we've been kind of culturally, just as human beings in the grand scheme of the last several hundred years of culture, inclined to want to look at the new thing coming out.
Yeah.
We're just kind of taught that way, that you
Right.
want to look at the new thing coming out because that's what's going to be cool and exciting. And I think more than ever, and we talked about this on the show a lot, specifically in relation to like ROMs and emulation, but I think it applies to life. More than ever, it is important to learn and teach and focus on curation.
Yeah.
Because we are just, I feel like this era in time is going to be really looked back on by the future as like I don't know if there's a word for it yet, but in the future, I suspect there will be a phrase for like data pollution. Which is like, we don't need 170 million fucking hours of YouTube uploaded every day. That is a goddamn waste of everything. And I think until that happens,
unless
until we become aware
unless
of
that
this,
becomes the standard in the future, whereas they'll be like, this is the introduction of the modern era.
So it's curation is important. I think
Yeah.
curation is important in life in general. I think picking the experiences you want to have, giving yourself time to focus on experiences, and whenever you're starting to exit the demographic, it becomes easier to not get swept up in the new stuff coming out. Every
Right.
now and then something rolls along and it's just exciting.
Yeah.
But whenever you're like, hey, I just don't really give a hot fuck about the newest Call of Duty, then you're free from that. I mean, sure, you
Yeah.
might be sad that like all your friends are still buying it and enjoying it, but you know what? You get to go curate your own experience.
Yeah.
And you get to go have your own experience that is that you get to discover on your own at your own pace, which is how everything used to be,
Right.
because we didn't have as much shit coming at us all the time,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm sorry, it's 3.7 million new videos every day.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Even if you account for every language on earth, that's still an insane amount of videos per language, and I know most of them are probably English.
Right.
So curation is so important, and exiting the demographic is a great time to begin, because curation is a skill.
Yes.
It is a skill you have to practice, you have to get good at. It takes discipline, and it's also raining really hard, and I hope it's not coming through on mic.
I can't hear it. It's
very
fine.
hard. But
I meant to mention that in the housekeeping, that we are scheduled for storms tonight, and Justin's internet is run on tin
you have
cans.
poor internet. So curation is extremely important. And again, because we talk about it a lot in the Discord, people say, hey, what ROMs do I put on my Miu? I currently have 90,000 ROMs on it, and it's just too many. And curation doesn't just mean only putting on the stuff you want to play. Sometimes it means putting on a good library of things, but then using things like favorites functions to kind of make a list of stuff, train yourself to go to that list first.
Yeah.
And work on that, flex that muscle, learn that skill of curating your experiences.
And
You know,
also,
I think it's- go ahead.
if you are going back to older games to try to escape from the modern gaming bubble, there's no better time than right now to go and find things you didn't play before.
For sure.
Because when you look at these classic libraries, they're all suddenly available to us. Some legally, some not. But they're all available to us in ways that are more readily available than in the past. And you can check out things that weren't even released in your region. You can check out things that weren't released in your language that
Fan
suddenly have fan
translations, ROM
translations.
hacks, yeah.
Exactly. You can check out things from before you were born. You can look at all the weird shit that just didn't catch your attention when you were younger because it didn't appeal to you or because it wasn't marketed. And there's also more information out there. For some reason, white guys in their 30s and their 40s love to make podcasts about video games.
I was in my 20s, okay?
Uh-huh.
I did it
So-
before it was cool.
Sure you
Yeah,
do.
if you're looking for duos of white guys talking about video games,
They're
it's
all
a
over the
flooded
internet.
market. There's a
Yeah.
lot of them.
And we won't shut up about it, I assure you. We cannot stop sharing our opinion of what games are worth playing, so you can find the people that match your opinions. Probably not me. I'm a fucking weirdo. And find out what games they like and make a list of just that and try to play some of the ones that you haven't played and find all kinds of experiences out there.
I am just now myself starting to dig into the world of late 90s, early 2000s fantasy PC gaming.
Oh, yeah.
Which was an era that it passed me by. I was unaware of it at the time.
Yeah.
I'm playing EverQuest, which is kind of one of the juggernauts of the late 90s, early
True.
aughts fantasy
Yeah.
PC gaming era.
Yeah.
But the other night I was checking out Betrayal at Krondor,
Oh yeah.
which was
Haven't heard that name in a
by-
couple of years.
This was written by Raymond E. Feist, who's one of my favorite fantasy authors. I had no fucking idea he made a video game. Well, he didn't make it. He consulted on it and wrote the story.
Right.
But it was $1 on GOG. Like, that's so exciting to me that this guy who writes these very compelling books. I read a bunch of the Rift War saga. And the game is really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's really well written, and I'm enjoying it. And I keep dying, and I keep not saving. I'm not even sure how to save, but I'm gonna figure it out and enjoy this game. And it's something that I didn't even know existed. And this weird old experience I've found, along with even like stuff like EverQuest, has been so much more exciting to me than things coming down the pipeline. You know, like, and it's just curation. It's just, hey, I'm kind of feeling like dorky, jank, 3D,
Yeah.
late 90s kind of fantasy stuff. You know?
Right. Yeah, there's
and there's a lot to explore there that I'm not even aware of.
and that's another thing for people who are going back to older games is for a lot of people, the retro gaming market that has been marketed for the last 20-ish years since retro gaming has become popular
Yeah.
has mostly been the old console games, and a lot of the old PC games have just been left in the vault the whole time.
Yeah.
So
Or
there
just
is
dumped on GOG 9 years ago and no
Right,
one
yeah.
noticed.
Yeah, so there is a ton of seemingly forgotten old PC stuff, especially the stuff from the 80s, but also a lot of the stuff from the 90s that is just waiting to be discovered. I'm not going to pretend it's all gems. Some of it's hidden turds. They're out there, but it might be turds that appeal to you. All of us like turds sometimes. So there's all kinds of fun, weird shit to find. But you don't have to go just to old games. There's
Sure.
also indie games. The indie game market does a great job of marketing towards all of us that do not care for the mainstream games.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways, the indie market is a reaction to that dissatisfaction with the current market trends in the mainstream market.
Right, and a lot of the people who are big indie game developers also happen to be in our demographic. So
Right.
they are targeting things that would appeal to themselves, and it just so happens to appeal to us in the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, I was just trying to think of examples of indie games, but like, I'm playing. I just downloaded Against the Storm on your recommendation. I just picked up
yeah.
Everspace 2, which I guess is less indie and more like double A, maybe single A, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, but there's still stuff out there that's in.
Yeah.
These are exciting games. I'm excited to sit down and play these. You know.
Sea of Stars was a big one that was...
Yeah, Sea of Stars was a huge indie game for me.
Yeah.
Slightly less huge for you, but I think
it was still a good game, and it was still clearly marketed towards us.
yeah, I think impact-wise, very big and very much marketed at people who are maybe dissatisfied with the fact that, you know, premier JRPG properties like Final Fantasy don't seem to be JRPGs anymore.
Right.
And they are RPGs and they're from Japan, but you know.
Right. Yeah. And then beyond the old stuff and the indie stuff, sometimes there is some new stuff that you're still going to enjoy, even if the biggest name stuff and the most popular stuff may not appeal to you anymore.
Yeah.
There is still new stuff coming out. You might find some things here and there, or maybe you'll even find one of those big mainstream games that probably shouldn't appeal to you, but it still scratches an itch for you for some reason.
For sure. You have a section here called rejection.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just reject the mainstream, move to indies.
Yeah,
I just
and
kind
think
of
this is
barreled
something
through that.
We talked about recently anyway, which is we did a Play This Not That indie
Yeah,
game
that's
episode,
true.
which is
Exactly, yeah.
specifically that there's nothing like, here's the thing. You don't want to be the guy that's yucking everyone's yum.
Right.
if all your friends are stoked on the new Call of Duty coming out
Right.
or whatever, and they want to play this online competitive shooter with microtransactions and battle passes and low critical stores, then sure, that's their prerogative, and you don't want to be
Yeah.
like, well, you shouldn't enjoy that because I don't. You don't want to be that guy, but
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt to be the guy that's like, hey, while we're waiting on that, there's this game called BattleBit Remastered that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would y'all want to try that? And thankfully,
Right.
a lot of the times these experiences are so cheap that it's fine, you know.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, rejection of the industry and rejection of mainstream trends is you know, it's a fine line to walk because you don't want to be that contrarian guy that's
Right.
like, I don't think you should like this at all, you know.
I was talking to a guy at our at my office that works in the warehouse. It was saying that he'd been playing the NBA 2K series since he was a toddler, and he always I know and he had always played each new game with his friends. And when the newest one came out, he looked at the game, he looked at all the DLC, and he was like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it this time. This time is not for me. And his friends were still playing it, and they're trying to talk him into it. And he was like, I can't. It's not doing it for me anymore.
Yeah.
So you hit that point sometimes where that biggest, newest game, you're just like, this is one bridge too far.
And I think as important as not being the guy that's there to yuck everyone's yum,
Right.
it's also important to not be the guy that's just doing something you hate because it's
Because all your
familiar.
friends are. Yeah.
Because that's also unhealthy, and that's
True.
also not good for you. You know,
Absolutely.
go find something that's exciting because it's out there. We promise there's
Yeah.
something. Do you have an acceptance section right after rejection?
Yeah, so I had broken down what to do about it in 3 ways. You got reflection, which is you go back to the past.
Right.
Rejection, where you ignore the mainstream and go to indies. And acceptance, where you just decide maybe there's a couple of modern games that are okay.
Sure. I don't think it has to be all or nothing.
Right.
I don't think really anything ever should be all or nothing. But especially in video games, like, yeah, maybe you buy that yearly FIFA game or whatever,
Right.
because you're still enjoying it.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And it's normal. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being that person, you know? And we
No.
get a lot of people on our Discord show up, and you can see some people are a little trepidatious sometimes, where they show up and they're like, hey, you know, I really like FIFA, and they kind of grimace for us to be like, you shouldn't, you fucking idiot. You know, they brace themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's a natural response when you're in a room of people that you know have probably largely rejected the larger mainstream gaming trends. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of them, I like to think a lot of people are taken aback by us just being like, hey, man, that's cool that you like that, and we're glad that you like
Right.
that. If you're
And
ever looking for an alternative, we'll help you find one. But
Right.
there's nothing wrong with liking the occasional bullshit, garbage, microtransaction laden $69.99 for the loser edition AAA video game.
And I know there's 1 or 2 people in our chat that play Fortnite and other stuff like that, and that's fine. You know what?
sure.
Fucking enjoy it. I hope you continue to enjoy it, even if we don't. And you know, we can still continue to talk about the other things that you enjoy that we do enjoy.
And there's also you can enjoy an experience, and this is so important, and I wish more people would realize this. You can enjoy an experience, but not like every aspect of it.
That's true.
You can enjoy Fortnite, but hate the bullshit monetization.
Yeah.
You can enjoy FIFA, but hate the microtransactions. You're allowed, right?
I was able to enjoy the Nier mobile game and
Yeah.
absolutely hate everything about the gameplay.
So, our final section here is kind of, you know, where are we with this?
Yeah.
Where are we with the demographic, the mainstream industry, where we feel about things? And I think, for me, the games industry is this weird, conflicting dichotomy of some of the most like open, accessible, and interesting indie games we've ever seen.
Yes.
Sitting side by side with some of the most bland, iterative, non-inventive bullshit AAA swill the industry has ever squeezed out.
Right.
And it's just really difficult to reconcile sometimes. I think it's really only reasonable, healthy way that an industry could collapse in its own greed and incompetence, is by
Right.
having these alternatives. Like, I'm glad that the game industry didn't start, specifically the AAA mainstream gaming industry didn't really start to have massive cracks forming until later on, when it did, when we had access to indie games, when people could, for little or no money, put things out there and make things available on Steam. These tools are available at little to no cost. Platforms are cheap or free to publish on. If you make smart use of social media, you can get word out about smaller projects. Things are just easier than they used to be here.
I feel like there was a 3 or 4 year gap where the industry was already starting to get shitty, and the indie games hadn't yet hit critical mass yet.
It was a little bit like that,
Right.
that like 2009 to like 2012, 2013, when indie games kind of took off a little bit.
Yeah, during that era, unless you were a big fan of Braid or Fez, you were kind of there wasn't full saturation yet for the indie market.
Yeah. So where I am is I view it. I've come to view the game industry much the same way I would view something like the book industry. I'm not like, oh, books are bullshit because I don't like what's on the New York Times top seller list.
Right.
I still read comic books and other graphic novels. I still read regular books. I still read fantasy books. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, oh, movies are bullshit because Marvel sucks. Like, that's not. that's silly. That's a silly way to look at it, because these media landscapes are so vast.
Right.
They're so big.
Yeah.
That
and
you don't have to be excited by the new Spider-Man movie or Spider-Man video game to be invested in these media landscapes.
And I think also the entire demographic of video games has shifted as they've become more mainstream, and their audience has gotten bigger, because in the 90s it was mostly nerds playing video games. Mm-hmm. And now it is mostly everyone playing video games. So they are appealing to a broader market. So the former core nerd audience isn't going to be the core audience anymore. So especially for people like me who grew up in the 80s and 90s, by the time video games had hit the absolute huge mainstream, they hadn't been marketing towards me for a few years there. So I eventually, in my mind, had to think of it. Like you mentioned the book industry, I'm going to mention the music industry, because for me, I've never been a big fan of pop music. Mm-hmm. I've always preferred like indie, alternative, nerd rock, that kind of stuff that's never been in the mainstream. Like there's a brief period of time in the 90s where alt rock almost hit mainstream.
Yeah, was a thing for a little bit.
Right. But other than that, it's always been pop music. That's why it's called pop, because it is popular. Mm-hmm. But it's never really appealed to me. And eventually I had to realize that in the video game world, maybe the popular games aren't going to appeal to me either. And I have to go find those other genres that do appeal to me. Yeah. It's no longer a monolith genre like it was in the 90s, or in monolith media, rather. It is a broad media that appeals to all kinds of people now.
I think because it happened comparatively, compared to things like TV, movies, music, books, whatever, it happened so fast for gaming.
Yeah. And for such a young industry too.
Yeah, it was so fast. It was such a young industry at the time that, like, within the span of like 40 years, video games have come this full circle, this era where it took, a lot of it was accelerated by the internet. This was a media form, an art form that existed in archaic form until very, very recently in history. And it happened to mostly coincide with the rise of the internet, when all of a sudden everything got faster.
And also the rise of technology that allowed things to look more realistic and thus more appealing to a more mainstream wide audience.
Yeah. So as far as final thoughts, I wrote, play indie games, install RetroArch, let the rest burn. So I guess that's where I land on it.
My take is after seeing all the gacha games out there, I'm starting to agree with Seymour Skinner. Yeah, it is the kids who are wrong. Yeah.
Well, Saturn, you know what's not wrong? It's checking out our Patreon.
Is it?
Patreon.com/Retro Warriors, where it's the most right thing you've done all week.
You could call it righteous.
It's the most righteous thing you've done all week. You can check out our righteous shows, such as Talking Wizards.
That's rad.
And our radical pre-shows. And our totally tubular Retro Warriors read-along.
That's gnarly, Justin.
This is the worst bit we've done in so long.
We're wicked cool.
We want to thank the following. What's another one?
Batical
Batical Patreons, starting with Jamo,
and Luke Saracen Clark,
Slick Rick,
Dean Schmidt,
The Coffee Samurai,
Mark Schwickendioffmeyer,
A Winner Is Me,
Mike Rotondo,
Norman,
and James Taylor.
Are all the patrons we want to thank for giving us their totally radical money every month that we spend on awesome, cool stuff like skateboards and backwards hats and what else?
Bill
is
and
radical?
Ted VHS tapes.
Cans of Cheese Whiz.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted VHS tape.
Dogs that wear bandanas.
Yeah, Bandana Dogs, El Caminos.
Oh yeah.
And surf rock records. That's what we do.
And Nickelodeon Gak.
Oh God. And when that's out of stock, we buy Floam. It's not as good, but it's still pretty fun.
But it comes in a dome.
Only the 90s could have given us a product that is literally just terrible for the environment, polystyrene in non-biodegradable ooze, and that is a toy.
Here's some foam. Give it to your kid.
Floam is the kind of thing that like Captain Planet would have been fighting against. And you're like, I got some fucking Floam, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us
cling together.